Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, a ridiculous bunch of HOA officers raided my 100-year-old store and claimed that I now must pay them HOA dues. Here is what happens when you mess with a business. Let's dive right into the story. And the title story starts like this. To make this story a little easier to read, I broke it up into kind of two parts. The first being the backstory and then what happened. The second part being the legal stuff that happened later. So part 1, I live in a pretty small town in South America and I run the general store that has been in my family for 100 years. I sell a little bit of everything, but not too much of one thing. A very old school type of shop that I don't think exists in a lot of places anymore. It might be outdated, but people still shop here and I don't like the idea of changing something if it's not broken. I kind of like the idea that it's the same premise after all this time. The biggest draw for people to my store is that it is right next to a neighborhood of homes. The only store in walking distance, so when they need a couple things, my store is the place that they like to go to. I have even special ordered items that I know they like since they will sell easily. I have a good rapport with the people living here. An HOA was created for the neighborhood and I knew about it mainly because of people coming to the store and complaining to each other while I overheard things. The HOA people seemed like jerks that only wanted to just get as much money from people as possible in any way they could. Now, HOA is not exactly the right term for these people because they were more like a gang posing as an HOA. They used intimidation tactics, took the money for themselves and were just not a legitimate organization. They were thugs, but they called themselves an HOA, so I will just go with that term for this story. I was more than just close to the neighborhood and it turned out that my store was technically part of it. I just never considered it to be. And well, this HOA did not seem to care that I was not a home and came in one day to my store to try and sell me on giving them money to join the HOA, telling me that it would be good for me and all of that crap. Me, I'm not interested. Besides, this is a business, not a home. HOA, we can still offer you protection. Me, there has never been an issue before that I need protection from. I wanted to be firm in saying no without escalating a situation, a skill that a lifetime of customer service has ingrained into my brain. HOA, the thing is that you are part of the neighborhood, so you need to pay us your dues. It's not really a negotiation. Me, I don't need to join. I was here long before you and I have a choice. I am choosing to not join. HOA, I would just hate to see something happen to this store that everybody likes. It would not cost you that much and we would be able to make sure that it stays safe and sound. Me, like I said before, I'm not interested in joining an HOA when the place is not even a home. I know that the store is in the neighborhood and that's why you came, but I told you no, so you can either go now or buy something. I lost patience very quickly with these guys and did not appreciate the subtle threats. I might have spent my whole life in a small town behind a counter, but I know that when a group is trying to offer protection, it means from them. My hope was that it was an empty threat and they would move on or try again to get me to join. What I did not think would happen was 5 guys coming into the store and basically raiding it. A little context here is that the HOA had these guys they called officers, but they were basically just enforcers and bullies. Me not wanting to join and giving them money had them so angry that they sent these officers to raid my store. It was horrible and they started going around the entire store and destroying everything. Product shelves, the security cameras, etc. It was chaos as they loudly went through the place like a SWAT team, leaving the entire place in pieces. I'll admit that I hid under the counter because I did not want my head to be one of the things that got smashed in by these crazy guys. Once there was nothing left to break, I was just sitting there in shock. It was the one day I was glad that no customer was in my shop. I get chills thinking about what could have happened to an innocent person caught in the crossfire. I walked around the store to see that my entire stock was unsellable, even the back storeroom had been broken into, so I had nothing to sell until my deliveries in another week. What I don't know is how they managed to break the safe open and take all of the money inside of it. I called the police when I knew things were safe and they came and looked over all the damage. I told them that I was sure the HOA had sent the guys to destroy the place after I refused to join them. I wanted them arrested, but it was not gonna be that easy. Police, I'm sure that you are right in guessing what happened. The problem is that we cannot make an arrest based on that. If you had any proof of faces on the video, we could investigate them on that. Me, they destroyed the cameras and footage in the back. They were sorry they couldn't do anything but make a report, but I knew it was not their fault. They cannot just arrest people based on suspicion. I spent weeks moping around and not knowing what to do before I got myself back up and said that if the police couldn't do anything about the HOA, then I was gonna do it myself. Nothing violent or crazy, I was just gonna get a lawyer, get myself some evidence and then sue them into oblivion. Part 2. It was harder to get a lawyer than you might think. People did not want to go against an HOA like this because who knows what could happen to them. I found a lawyer after over a month of searching that was willing to help me. While I had no evidence showing my store being destroyed, I did have the old footage from when they came to not so subtly threaten me. That would be useful for a lawsuit against them. It being a bad HOA, I could try and find people willing to help me go against them and testify that they were pressured into giving money and that they did not see anything being used for the community. People were scared, but I had loyal customers that saw what they did as going too far. Plus, they were sick of giving more and more money to the HOA whenever they deemed it needed. My lawyer also filed some kind of form that would have the HOA guys' financials dug into to try and show that they were not doing the right things with taxes. Sorry for not being able to give more details, my brain was kind of a mess over this whole thing. I was running out of money and closing the store fully was on the table. I was staying open, but it was a daily struggle of if I could survive it staying open and worry if those guys would come back for me. We were waiting on a judge to decide if the video I did have was enough evidence to search the HOA and see if they could find any type of proof that the officers existed and that they were doing illegal activities. The video plus the statements from the others saying that they were threatened was sufficient and the HOA was now the ones being raided instead. They found money and weapons as well as the officers' uniforms. It was not legal to have things saying officers or police if they were not actually those types of people. Again, it was not enough to arrest them for destroying my store, but it was something I could use in the bigger lawsuit against this HOA. It was all about collecting enough so it could ruin their credibility. Finally, the court date came and we went in with all of our stuff showing that they were scum. The documents also came in to show that the HOA was stealing money and not reporting everything to the government. They were being separately investigated for that, which made me happy. Judge, did you or anybody in your organization send these officers to OP's store with the purpose of destroying it or obtaining money from him? HOA, no, it was a tragic accident that occurred to him. Sadly, we couldn't help since he was not a member. My lawyer objected to that comment since he was just trying to be cocky and it was not answering the question of the judge. Judge, a raid of your building showed weapons and uniforms that matched the description of the people that destroyed the store. OP, can you confirm this is what the men were wearing? Me, yes, they were wearing those exact uniforms. It went on for a while with them showing other witness statements of seeing HOA men wearing those uniforms. Mixed with all of the other things we found against them, there was a chance of the men who did this actually going to jail. One must have realized they were screwed and in a night between court dates broke down and admitted to being in my store and destroying it. He blabbed to the judge who was with him and more importantly who ordered it. He was the sole person not going to jail and instead just getting a hefty probation. The rest were going to prison and the HOA was being shut down. Money was being attempted to be returned to all the homeowners, but most of it was spent already. I got a little bit of money back for my store, but I cannot sue them for what they don't have. The government took most of it and the rest of us were just out of luck. I still consider it a good ending since the HOA was gone and I did not need to worry about my store being destroyed again. I would slowly be able to work back up and save money again. I still had my customers after all. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I gotta say, I feel so bad for OP and the neighborhood for getting ripped off by this HOA, but I hope in the future they will never have to deal with such an organization again. But then again, it seems like in South America, these are not really HOAs, but instead some kind of mafia organization or structure. Anyway, the next one is titled Dumb Seller, and it's a very interesting story from r/petty revenge. So I don't typically buy a lot of designer clothing, but when I do go shopping, I dress pretty casually. Last week I was strolling through the mall and there was a designer backpack on display that caught my attention. I went inside the store wearing a hoodie and ripped jeans and went to inquire about the price of the backpack. I waited around for 10 minutes for someone to help me until I decided to go up to one of the sales representatives myself. She told me to wait because she was helping another customer, so I sat down and waited. I saw her in the corner of the store just standing, not doing anything. I decided to wait another 5 minutes for her to come back, but she never did. I walked back up to her and told her I wanted to inquire about the backpack. I asked her if she could bring one from the back room so I could take a closer look at it. She told me that she would not be able to do that unless I was planning on purchasing the item. She seemed annoyed with my request. Before I could say anything else, she quickly walked away to help another customer. So I myself am quite young, 25, and I could tell she did not think that I was serious about purchasing it and did not want to waste her time. I would have actually purchased it then and there if she had not been so dismissive. A few days later I went back into the store, and this time I made sure to dress even more casually than before. I walked in with a pair of sweatpants, running shoes, a tank top and zip up. The same lady was working that day and turned her back to me as soon as I walked in. I went up to one of the other sales reps. This guy was younger, smiling and seemed eager to help, and I told him that I wanted to purchase the backpack, and he gladly went inside and got it for me. He even asked if I would like to take a look at it before buying. I thanked him and he checked me out. The store manager was also by the cashier, and I let him know that I came in last week and that the lady would not let me see the product before purchasing it. He was upset to hear this and told me that this was not the first time he had received a complaint about her. The item was a few grand and all the commission went towards the junior. He was so kind and grateful. She avoided eye contact with me after she got told off by her manager, and I smiled at her as I walked out of the store. Don't judge a book by its cover. And yeah, honestly, Ripe Stars, if I would be the boss of that business, I would fire that woman. I hate it when people in stores judge you. And by the way, Ripe Stars, recently I found out that Am I the A-hole as a subreddit also exists in other languages, and there was an interesting post about an Am I the A-hole situation here in Europe. If I remember correctly, it was from Germany. So basically the situation was this guy was trying to purchase something in a supermarket, and right in front of him was a woman who was buying some kind of German liquor. I think the time was around 18:30 or 19 o'clock or something, and supposedly that particular supermarket closes around 20 o'clock. So it's like 30 minutes or maybe an hour or something before closing time. And then the cashier asks the woman in kind of a derogatory or a condescending tone whether it is not a little bit too early to buy liquor like this. The woman in front of him then did not really know how to respond, and when it was OP's turn, he asked the cashier, "So you're closing soon, when is the right time to buy this kind of liquor then?" And OP then asked if he was the a-hole because he reported this cashier to the manager or something like that. And honestly, in that situation, I would not say that OP is a Karen or an a-hole or anything. I think he did the right thing. The cashier has absolutely no right to judge customers for what they buy. Anyway, let me know what you think about that one in the comments. I just found it interesting. Either way, the next one is an Am I the A-hole story from the, I suppose, American subreddit. My boyfriend is a big hero fanatic and does everything in his power to be like one. It's really endearing, and it's one of the many things I love about him, because he wants to be the good he wishes to see in the world. However, this mindset he has is why we are fighting right now. So we've been quarantining at my apartment, he is not in the lease, and he suggested we go on a night walk since we've been getting stir crazy from being inside all day. He figured that it would be better for social distancing to go out at night. I was hesitant because we live in a bad neighborhood and he assured me he would protect me. On our walk, we were cornered by a man with a knife that demanded our wallets. I remembered John Mulaney's street smarts bit from the Netflix show and was gonna throw my wallet past the mugger so we could run away, but my boyfriend started arguing with him and was spouting off a bunch of stuff about justice and how the mugger would not get away with this. It looked like he was getting ready to fight. I was taken aback by this, and I guess the mugger too, because it gave me enough time to take the important stuff out of my wallet while he was distracted. I interrupted my boyfriend's monologue and said, "Take it, just don't hurt us," and threw it behind the guy. When he turned, I grabbed my boyfriend's hand and we booked it back to the apartment. We got home safely and I was relieved that we were okay, but my boyfriend was fuming. He was pissed that I interrupted him from protecting me when he could have, in his words, clearly handled it himself. I told him that he could have gotten himself killed. He said that he was obviously stronger than the mugger guy and would have won. I explained to him that the guy had a weapon and my boyfriend didn't, so the odds were stacked against him. Not only that, but I did not want my boyfriend to get killed over a damn wallet. We argued for longer than necessary, so I shut it down and told him we could talk about it when our adrenaline was not so high, but now I needed to file a police report while the event was fresh. He stomped off our room while I called the cops. When I was off the phone, I went to lay with him, but he rolled away from me. The next day he was still angry and had already told his friend and family about what had happened to us. I thought that they would be understanding about how I handled it, but they were mad at me for not letting him have his opportunity to be a hero. His mom even ridiculed me for emasculating him. I wanna reopen the conversation so we can understand each other and move past it, but if he is not receptive, I'm gonna ask him to move back in with his mom. I wanna understand where I went wrong if I went wrong, but honestly, I feel like he's being childish and unreasonable. I just wanna know if I am the a-hole or is he. And here, Ripe Stars, let me know what you think about this in the comments. I would say that OP is definitely not the a-hole, or in this subreddit, the buttface, because she absolutely did the right thing, and maybe if she wouldn't have done this, the mugger could have really injured either OP or her boyfriend. The boyfriend is clearly being childish and maybe even being a man-child, which might be even worse. Anyway, comment number 1 on Reddit said, "Not the buttface and your man-child has issues." As others who pointed out, he was escalating the situation and put you in danger, which is not how you protect someone you care about. His family sounds like idiots too. Take care. Edit, my hubby, who's a retired cop, said you did the correct thing in that situation and your boyfriend is an idiot and was not protecting you. Comment number 2, my husband is an experienced MMA fighter. I read him this and his response was, that idiot is gonna get himself and his girlfriend killed. Real life is not an action movie. In real life, the safest action is de-escalation, so everyone leaves unharmed. That woman was smart and did the right thing. She is clearly the hero. Why do you find his superhero dream endearing? It sounds like he has no training in self-defense, hand-to-hand combat, weapons disarming, or negotiation. He sounds like an idiot who wants you to swoon at his feet like a damsel in distress. It's pretty damn offensive how he regards you as a helpless female who just needs to live with him to be safe, when he does it all wrong and is actually putting you in danger. And now, Ripe Stars, we have an update to the story, and it reads like this. So he called me last night and I answered. He asked if I was okay and how I was doing, then he asked if he could come over and I said he could. I planned on bringing everything up again myself because he had been very passive-aggressive and refusing to talk about it. But when he showed up, he immediately started apologizing. Everything you guys pointed out, he started agreeing with. He was saying that he was being delusional, unrealistic, the whole hero fantasy is not healthy, he jeopardized my safety and that was not okay. I was not prepared for this behavior, especially compared to how he had been acting all week. We talked for hours before we went to bed together and everything seemed like it worked out fine. I was really on the verge of ending things, so it was a relief that I did not have to in that moment. Then this morning came and crap hit the fan. In my comment update on the last post, I mentioned that a friend was trying to mediate. I texted that friend that things worked out and they said something along the lines of, "I'm so glad you were able to apologize." Some people mentioned that maybe he told a different story, which is not something I looked into, but I decided to ask and oh boy, I'm glad I did. Firstly, he told everyone that the night walk was my idea and then apparently we were never mugged. Nope. Apparently, I just started talking crap to a stranger on the street in an attempt to make him show that he was a strong man and to protect me. And the only reason we were able to get away was because he de-escalated the situation and that it was emasculating because he was put in a position where he felt like he was forced to fight for my honor. Are you kidding me? To make a long story short, he tried to play dumb and backpedal this morning when I confronted him about it, and then when I pressed him to be honest, he snapped again and said, "What was I supposed to say? The whole situation was embarrassing and it was gonna make me look bad." We argued again for a bit, but I was just done. I told him to go and that this was not gonna work. He did not have much stuff, so it was easy to put in a spare grocery bag and just toss at him while he angrily left. He is currently outside of my complex waiting for mommy to pick him up. As far as I'm concerned, I dodged a bullet. F his friends, F his mom and F him. Thank you for opening my eyes. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.